Yeah, g'day viewers, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be processing some more karat gold. I've got a cross which is 9 karat gold. Here in Australia we have 9 karat, America is usually 10 karat. This is an impure gold bead which I made the other day, so it needs to be refined. And this delicate little thing, the earrings. Now I would have liked to wait until I had some more gold to process, but I'm desperate for some cash, so I want to get this done, put it on eBay and see what I get. My gold buyer stopped buying off gold from me because he reckons he hasn't got a license to buy second-hand gold. What a load of crap. So put this on, see what it weighs, and then I'll start getting it into some nitric. It's hard to grab this because it's so delicate. My big Neanderthal fingers. That's 2.5 grams alone, that button. So we've got 5.1 grams. That's what we're starting with, and I'm hoping for at least 4 grams. So let's wait and see. I'll go outside, I'll put this in some nitric and remove any base metals from the karat gold. Okay, so I've got the gold in some distilled water. I'm going to add some nitric and nitric. I've been told I say it wrong, so it's nitric. It doesn't matter how much you put in, it's just to remove any silver or copper or whatever. And put it on some heat. I turned it on already. Put a watch glass on, and we'll see how much we get out of it. So what I did was I drained out the solution which had silver and copper in it, and to make sure that I got it all, I put a new batch of water and nitric, and as you can see there's no colour change whatsoever. So I've taken all the base metals out. Now that won't be a waste because I can use that for silver. I've got a whole pile of silver spoons that I want to dissolve, so I'll put it in that. So now I'm going to tip this out, and I'm going to put aqua in there. That little button over there, if you can see it, it's quite chunky, so it's going to take quite a while to go down. I should have really hit it with a hammer and flattened it out. But anyway, it's alright. I'll put some aqua in there now and show you when that's done. Well, I got carried away and I forgot to show you me making the aqua regia, but I'm sure you've seen that a million times. Just to run down, I put some hydrochloric acid in there, and like a couple of drops at a time until the powder was all dissolved, and the gold, until the gold was all dissolved. And I've checked the bottom, there's no gold left in there. That way, by doing incremental additions, I haven't got too much nitric in there. There's only just enough to do the job. It's very cloudy, as you can see, and it's cooling down. I'm going to put some ice in there, and then I'm going to filter it, ready to drop the gold. Okay, I've just made up a fresh batch of copper, and I'm filtering it now because there will be iron in there. So I'm just filtering it, and then I'll be able to use that to drop the gold with. Okay, so it's been filtered, all the gold's filtered through. Yeah, the beaker's a bit dirty, but I might refine it a second time yet. So I'm going to pour in some copper. Should get a nice colour change. There we go. A bit more, so it's about double the quantity of what we had. And let that sit. Once the gold's had a chance to settle, I'll be able to test the solution and make sure I've got all the gold out of the solution and see what we get. The copper has done a good job of dropping the gold. There is some on the surface, but there's also a nice collection on the bottom, clumped up nicely. I'm just going to filter it, try and catch all that surface gold as well, and then I'm going to refine it one more time. Yeah, I forgot to mention, I did a stannous test. I just took some of the solution and there's no response, so there's no gold left in solution. Well, the last of the gold has gone into the filter, whatever was floating on top, but most of it settled. Look at that. Nice clumpy gold at the bottom. Still black though, so I'm going to refine it a second time. I'll wait till that filters, and then I'll put the whole filter in here and refine it. And while I'm waiting for this to finish filtering, I'm going to go through the whole wash procedure, which is 3 hot water washes, then boil in hydrochloric acid, then 3 more hot water washes. I'll do all that so that before we refine it. Alright, so I'm going to pour some water in, hot water, a little bit for now. Just give it a good swish around. I'll pour some more water in. Usually when it's in powdered form, I fill it right to the top and then let it settle. But this is settled already. It's good stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just go and pour this off. I need 2 hands, and I'll come back, put some more water in. Second water wash. Give it a good stir around. And I'll pour this off, come back. And now for the third water wash. Give it a good swish around. I'll pour that off and then I'll boil it in hydrochloric. Okay, so I've got hydrochloric acid in there now. I'm just waiting for it to heat up. I'll boil it for a while. So everything had finished filtering through the filter. So I put that in there as well to include that in the wash procedure. Sure, it's missed the first 3 washes, but it will still get the last 3 plus the boiling hydrochloric. And I'm going to refine it anyway. Well, I had the gold powder in here with hydrochloric acid on heat to boil it. And like an idiot, I walked away and left it unattended, and it boiled dry. And it all burnt onto my glass and cracked the base. Another beaker down. I go through these things so often. So I've been not squirting it out, getting all the chunks into here. And using a toothbrush, we scrub the inside, trying to get everything off there. I'm hoping that what's on there now is just stain. There would have been spattering to get up this high like it did. There would have been spattering in there. I'm going to continue to scrub it with the toothbrush and squirt it and try and get every little bit I can. And then I'll pour the water off and put it in some hydrochloric acid to refine it a second time. So I'm happy to show my mistakes. I'm human, I make them just like everybody else. Yeah, it's a bummer about my nice tall form beaker. Luckily it's an old one, not the new ones that my reviewer recently bought me. Still, it doesn't matter, they cost a fortune. I just got this one off the stand. It's a nice clean beaker, even though it's got water spray on it. That's from me just doing it right now. So it's a clean beaker that I'm going to refine the gold in. You need a clean beaker to get purity. Otherwise you could add contaminants if you use a dirty beaker. So this was crystal clean until right now it's only water spatter from where I'm putting this in. So I'll carry on with that, and then I'll put some aqua regia in there. I just had a brain fart, or an epiphany, or whatever you want to call it. When I was squirting, I didn't see any water come out. So I'm sure there's a hole in the center here somewhere. Anyway, no water was getting me, so I don't know if it's just cracked or whether there's a chip in there somewhere. But what I might try and do is put some aqua regia in there, even if I've got a tilter on an angle, and turn it around and just see if I can dissolve any of this with aqua regia. I don't want to waste any gold at all. So yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm going to put some aqua regia in there, just hold it and turn it, because there's nothing really in the bottom. It's just all on the corner here and up the sides. And I'll just gently rotate it and see if I can get some of this off the glass before I throw the beaker in the bin. The aqua regia is in there, and I've got a lid on there because keep all the fumes in, and it's going to help it clean the sides of the beaker as well. They reckon the best way to clean glassware is with using aqua regia. So I'm hoping that this works. I'm hoping it doesn't crack any further. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm sitting right beside it, so if it does, I can quickly grab it all before it eats into the tin. And I've just been busy doing other jobs. I'm sorting out some AP that I've had been soaking for a while. I'm doing other things, pulling some things apart inside. Too many things on at once. So I'm going to sit here and wait and see how this goes. Well, I got a lot of it off, but there's still a stain on there. But that's nowhere near compared to what it used to be. And you can see this is well and truly cactus now. So I've got all the bits in there, aqua regia, and some stuff there settling that was in the wash water. It was in suspension, so I'm letting that settle, and I'll put that into there as well. And this beaker is kaput. Well, I've put more than enough nitric in there, and nothing else seems to be dissolving, so I can only guess that that's burnt bits of filter paper, because I did have a filter in there which would have broken down into small pieces and then burnt obviously with everything else. You can see how red the solution is, so it's very concentrated. I'm going to have to dilute it a lot before I can drop the gold. I'm going to try one more dose of nitric. It's most likely going to be extremely over nitric. That should be more than enough for anything that's in there, if there's anything left to dissolve. And I'm going to have to denox this with sulfamic acid for sure. I'm going to put it on high, get it boiling, put the plate back on top. It's the last time I'm going to put nitric in. I'm going to assume now that any gold in there has been dissolved. But any of those pieces in there will get caught in a filter paper anyway, and that'll go in my filter storage. So if there's more gold there, I won't lose it. But I'm going to warm this up now, and when you denox with sulfamic acid, it has to be hot anyway. So I'm going to do the best I can to dissolve anything else in there. Then I'll put some sulfamic in while it's hot, and then once it's all cooled, I can filter it and then drop the gold. I came out last night to start denoxing, and there was a whole pile of fumes in here, which means something's still dissolving. So I've just turned it back on because I had it off all night. I'm going to put a tiny bit more nitric in there. I'm going to end up over nitricing, I know, I can tell, but that's okay. I've got plenty of sulfamic acid. So we'll see now what happens. I'm going to have to keep doing this until the reaction stops. So I'll leave it on heat for a while and come back to it. So I've seen people using sulfamic acid, and I've also had people ask me how to use sulfamic acid. And the people I've seen do it, just put a little bit in, they get this reaction, because I just put some in, and then they add a little bit more and a little bit more until there's no reaction. But that's not entirely the best way to go. It'll get it down a lot, but there will still be some free nitric in there. So I'm going to show you how I do it, and this is how I get the best results. Firstly, you've got to do it while it's hot. There's no point in doing it when it's cold. Secondly, when the reaction stops, you still keep putting some in until it doesn't dissolve. It's better to have a tiny bit left over that hasn't dissolved than it is to have excess nitric. And then what I've done in the past is I've filtered the solution, captured the remaining sulfamic acid, and just put that aside and used that the next time I'm evaporating gold, dissolving gold and denoxing it. I've put the filter in there, and the rest of the sulfamic acid helps to start denoxing. So you can save it, it doesn't go to waste. So I'm going to put a little bit more. You see that reaction down there? It foams up. And I'll let all this settle down and then put some more. And ideally I want to get to the point where there's absolutely no reaction whatsoever and it doesn't dissolve. No good having it all dissolved in there and thinking, oh cool, that's nice, it's ready to go. Because in the past I've done it that way and still had a reaction when putting SMB in, a violent reaction, which means there's nitric in there. So I knew that this would be heavily over nitric, which is why I'm getting such a big response from the sulfamic. But it will start dying down fairly soon. And this is real time, I'm not editing it or anything. Put a bit more in. You see the reaction down there. I'm going to wash it off the sides of the glass. Wash the bubbles down a bit. I want to see what sort of reactions happening without all those old bubbles in the way. I've got plenty of sulfamic acid, so it's only because I've put so much nitric in, I've over nitricked in a big way, trying to get those dissolved bits, and the reaction with the nitric had finally stopped. So I'm going to let this settle now for 5 or 10 minutes. It's still on heat. I find that it helps to dissolve the sulfamic. I'm going to let this settle for a while and come back when those bubbles go down. I just put some more in there, and although it bubbled up, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as before. And down the bottom I can see quite a bit. There's a lot of undissolved sulfamic in there. So I'm taking it off the heat. Just let it digest what's in there. Once all these bubbles are gone, I'll be able to have a look in there and see if it's all dissolved, because sometimes it looks like there's a lot in there now, and then later on it seems to have all gone. And when that happens, I always put a bit more in there. Okay, there's no more reaction when I put sulfamic in. There's a whole pile at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it in there. And I've got a filter ready. So I'm going to filter this and then drop the gold. I just put some SMB in there and just waiting for the gold to drop now. Well, the gold has dropped nicely. Time to pour it off and start the wash procedure. I have a flask over here. I use this flask to pour off all my gold drop water, wash water, etc., etc. And you'd be surprised how often small particles of gold will travel across and in time it settles in the bottom of the flask. So whenever you do your gold drop or whenever you do your rinses, you always want to keep the solution. If you pour it slowly enough, the gold will stay down the bottom. If you go too fast, it'll try and escape. Just go nice and slow. And see how the gold's not travelling. And of course, when you get low on liquid, it will try, but and you stopped just before. See, there's no liquid left and the gold stayed there. So now it's time to start the wash procedure. So I know I've showed this in plenty of videos before, but I like to assume that a beginner is watching this video for the first time. So I'll go through it one more time. So this is the first of 3 washes. Now, I know some people like the eBay refiner say that that's enough, but I think why not put more? Water costs nothing, and the whole idea is to dilute as much of the SMB and crap that's in there, and you want to rinse it all out. So now I wait for this to settle, pour it off, and do the second wash. I'll come back when ready. I can't believe how quick it settled out. That is clear as all bell. It's only been half an hour. Usually it takes a bit longer than that. But even so, even though it's so clear, there could still be little particles. I always keep wash water, and you can always tip it out later. It's better to pour it off into this and just check. So just get hold of it in one hand. This is hard to do, but here we go. See, there's a little bit floating on top there. That's going to go over. It's trying to stir up on the bottom there, so just do it real slow. Try not to get it stirred up. If it means it only trickles in, it stops it from escaping. You see, it's trying to go up, but it stops just up there. It's taken me a while to realise this. I used to pour it faster and lose most of it. Not lose it, but transfer it into the other boat, the flask. See, the water's nearly gone down. I've kept all the gold in there. There we go. Ready for the second wash. Just got the kettle on the boil at the moment. We'll come back with the kettle when it's boiled. Okay, the kettle's boiled. I like to put a little bit in and then give it a swirl around. Really get all those particles rinsed off. And pour some more in. Now this wash procedure is vital, okay? There's no point in getting to this stage, doing all the hard work, and then skimping on the wash. You can't cut corners with this hobby. You know, there's no point in saying, oh, 1 wash or 2 washes are fine. The more you wash, the better. If you want pure gold, this is what you got to do. Now imagine how embarrassed you'd be if you go and say, oh, I'm a gold refiner, and you go to sell your gold and it's mixed with other stuff. You've got to take this step. Even if you want to do more than 3 washes, the more you do, the better. I'll be back when the kettle boils, when this is all settled down, and I boil the kettle again. Do a 3rd wash, and then I actually boil it for about half an hour at least in hydrochloric acid. Not just rinse it, I know some people, eBay refiner, likes to just rinse it, but I like to boil it. Actually cooks the gold in hydrochloric acid. And you'll find the gold will even change colour. If you've got black powder, after the hydrochloric boil, it usually goes milk chocolatey brown. And then I do 3 rinses to get rid of all the hydrochloric acid. It's the best way I've found. So I'll be back. Time for wash number 3. You can see it's a little bit murky, so there will definitely be fine sediment of gold trapped in this. And you don't notice it until after you've put a few washes into this beaker, and then a day or 2 later you see the gold appear at the bottom. It's only a little bit, but why throw it away? And all the fine stuff's just starting to try and get away now, so it's going nice and slow. And I get as much as I can right now, even though I can recover it later. I want it all now. So nice hot water. And let that settle, and then we'll do the hydrochloric acid. Time to drain this off. I'll put some hydrochloric acid in there and give it a boil. The hydrochloric acid's in. I've got it on high. I'll give it half an hour or so, even longer if need be, and give it a good boil. Alright, so it's the next day, and it's time to get rid of this HCl and rinse it out. So I'll find somewhere to pour it into because my flask is full. Oh, there's a beaker here. No, I can't because I've got gold floating on top. So what I'm going to do is just pour the first lot of water straight in. It'll dilute the acid, and I'll be able to remove it that way. There's a lot of gold floating on top. That's alright. So the first of the hot water washes. Hopefully the gold will settle, and I'll be able to pour that off and do the next 2. Taken about an hour and it's settled lovely, beautiful. I'll go and pour that off and put another top wash 2 in. So that would have rinsed away a lot of the hydrochloric acid, but rinse number 2 we'll make sure, and then we do a final rinse after this, and everything should be clean. It should be just gold. Look at that nice chocolate brown. That's what boiling in hydrochloric acid does. Beautiful. Okay, it's time to drop the last bit of water and do the 3rd and final rinse. Then I can put the gold into a melt dish and see what we got. In goes the last rinse. I don't need to do a very big one because it's going to take longer for the gold to drop. I just want a short section. This should be plenty anyway, but after all the washes I've done, this will be plenty. And shouldn't take long to settle because it's the more pure you get it, the more cleaner you get it, the sooner it drops. Hopefully be melting it soon. Okay, so the last of it's settled quite nicely. I'm going to drain that off and get it into a melt dish, and can come back and we'll melt it and see what we got. Well, as you can see, the gold drop water is very cloudy, which means there's a lot of gold in there, and it will settle over the next day or so. When I just tried pouring the gold in, a lot of it was trying to escape. So now I've got it sitting on an angle to see if I can get it to settle and pour the last of the water off. A lot of it went into here, so we're not going to get a true reading when we melt it, because some of it will be left in here. But I'll see what I can do. I'll give that 5 or 10 minutes to settle, see how much I can pour off. I've got it in the melt dish, as you can see, but that's as high as my nut gas goes because it's playing up. It's not really enough to make it molten metal, but it is enough to gather it into a clump. So I'll do the best I can with it, and once I can get it into a clump of gold, I might look to see if I can find one of my molds that best suits the size, put it in the mold and see if I can get it to melt enough to fall into that sort of shape. But yeah, so it's going to take a while now. Well, I wasn't able to melt all the small pieces that you can still see in there, because I couldn't get it into a molten ball and then travel it around the bowl to pick all the rest of the pieces up. But I did get this little bead, and you can tell it's not pure because it's got the matte finish to it. So it's going to need to be refined. But this piece weighs 3.4 grams. If you combine the pieces in there, you probably can't see it, there's some pieces in there. Let's see if I can move this around a bit. There's lots of little pieces in there. And then combine that with what's in the wash water. I reckon I'm looking around 5 grams. So that'll conclude the video. Thanks for watching. I'll put this gold in next time I refine some more. And please like and subscribe. Catch you later. Well, I managed to get a few more out of there, but as you can see, I'll just point the rod all around the outside up there. There's lots of little bits of gold, and then down around here and around here, there's still lots of dust everywhere. But now it weighs 3.55. So I still reckon if I can get the rest of that, as well as the gold that's in the wash container, it'll be about 5. Alright, bye for now.